One part of you yearns for the life of your dreams. The other part of you doesn't know how to believe it, and that's why nothing changes. But let's help you with that. Open up your Bibles. Let's start with Matthew 6, verse 22. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. I'd also like to bring in Matthew 5, 29 to 30. If thy eye offend thee, pluck it out. If thy hand offend thee, cut it off. Most people hear these verses and either take them literally or reduce them down to morality, such as avoid sin, behave better, don't look at bad things. And it becomes more about controlling behavior rather than understanding consciousness. And when we take the Bible at surface level and so literally, then we start feeling like there's this harsh reality to an unloving God who requires us to sacrifice, to submit, and to give way to His authority rather than owning up to our own authority like God intended us to do. The language sounds so extreme that people either fear it or just completely dismiss it because they don't want to buy into it, because they don't realize it's symbolic and not literal physical instruction. And all of this brings us into self-policing, to where we're so afraid to take actions because we fear that it might be sinful or looked down upon in the eyes of God, which then keeps us from living authentically and truthfully from our hearts. We're always looking over our shoulder or worried about what we see or what we do with our hands instead of understanding the symbology of something like that verse, which is simply, if your hand or your eye or something that seems to be out of your control is stopping you from being who you are or is causing you to sin, which sin is just being unauthentic and untruthful to who we really are, then cut it out of your life. Those verses are attention grabbing for a reason. Not because you literally need to cut off your hand or pluck out your eye, but because you need to be more conscious of what you're giving your power away to and what the mechanisms are that are allowing you to do so. We were taught to manage behavior and not understand what's actually happening internally. And here's what sin and offend thee in that verse are pointing to. Sin is just simply missing the mark and not being in alignment with your truth. Not something that God is keeping a tally list or a naughty list like Santa Claus to keep track of how good you're doing or how bad you're being. And offend thee just means, are you offending yourself by creating conflict within yourself, doubting, fearing, not believing, old habits that pull you out of alignment? It's an internal game, not an external one. Because the real battle isn't outside. It's the split within you. What's causing you to miss the mark isn't the world. It's the part of you that doesn't agree with where you're going. Now for thine eye being single and thy whole body being filled with light. Single eye just means your undivided attention. What you are focused on consciously. One identity, one assumption, and one direction. You're not splitting yourself in many different ways. It's just like in the 10 Commandments. No other gods before me. What are your gods right now? Career, legacy, family, conditioning, accolades, trophies, and awards, promotions, hard work, effort, forcing, struggle. There can't be any internal arguing. No back and forth. You can't have this push-pull going on within you. Having one side that knows what you're capable of and one side that just wants to play it safe, stay small, and avoid scrutiny and judgment from the world. That's the conflict you're dealing with right now. And it's quite the battle, huh? That inner vision not being in the single eye, but you having two eyes like a chameleon going back and forth, or what is it, an iguana? Whatever it is. And you have one eye looking in the direction of everything that you want and aspire to and know that you can be. And you have one eye looking at your past, worried about your failures, and what will happen if you fail. Which is why if you keep thine eye single, meaning pointing in one direction that you focus on and are intense about, that you will then be filled with light. You'll be energized. You'll be full of life. You'll be inspired to take action. You must live in the end of what it is that you want. Not halfway, not 3/4 of the way, but absolutely fully. And that is what thine single eye must be focused on. The end result, knowing that it's already accomplished. Because a single eye is a mind that is no longer negotiating with itself. So this is why Jesus had to use extreme language to get our attention. Cut off your hand, pluck out your eye if it causes you to sin and fall short of who you really are. It's not about harming your body, it's about urgency, decisiveness. where you're not willing to tolerate what splits you inside. The doubts, the fears, the opinions of others. So listen, anything that is dividing you right now, it has got to go. Not slowly, one step at a time, not maybe when I feel ready. Clean cut, right now. Clean cut of the hand. Cut it off. Cut it out. You've had enough, haven't you? It's time to live your damn life. When I left my old belief and religion of Catholicism, I had to cut it off, cut and dry. I couldn't just dabble and then try to be who I wanted to be or open up to new possibilities of beliefs that I could inhabit that would benefit me more. If I would have still been going to church, trying to please God and not feel the wrath of God for leaving the church, and not allowed myself to fully go into the new beliefs that I knew I needed to cultivate, well then I would have just got washed up on the shore. Same thing with my pushing and grinding mindset. I had to cut that off completely as well, because I can't be in a state of allowing at the same time that I feel like I must be in a state of forcing and pushing in order to get what I want. You can't serve two masters. There were parts of how I used to think that I couldn't carry anymore. They had to go. You don't ease your way out of division, you decide your way out of it. Cut and dry, all right? I hope this makes sense. My goal with these videos is to describe to you what these verses truly meant. Not taking them on the surface and so literally, but finding the symbology and the psychological drama of what these verses really mean and how we can actually apply them in our life. Because no one's going to go out and pluck their eye and cut off their hand. So no more fence sitting, all right? Please, do it for yourself. You got this. You're much closer than you think. You don't need more discipline. You need to stop letting two versions of you exist at the same time.